Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you all fine. Dear students, this lecture is for grade 8, boys and girls both wings, subject chemistry. And in this lecture, we will do the remaining questions of exercise of chapter number 4. This is my 28th lecture. That is the last lecture of final term first spell of chemistry, and I am your lecturer, Mrs. Saira Jamal. Question number 12 of the exercise: for each of the following pairs of atoms, use electron dot and cross structures to write the equation for the formation of ionic compound. The first compound is potassium and chlorine, that is called potassium chloride. Dear students, you know that potassium is present in group number 1A of the periodic table, and all the elements which are present in group 1A and 2A of the periodic table, they are metallic in nature. Potassium is metal and chlorine is present in 7 group of the periodic table, and it is a non-metal. You know that metal tend to lose electrons. Why metals tends to lose electrons? I told you the reason, that due to the low ionization energy, low electron affinity, and low electronegativity and larger atomic size, metal can easily lose electrons, or high shielding effect, they can lose electrons. While non-metals, they gain electrons due to their high electronegativity, high electron affinity, high ionization energy, and due to their small size. To acquire electronic configuration of nearest noble gas. Again, I told you that why the atoms are trying to have the electronic configuration same like the noble gases. The reason is in order to get stability. The atoms are trying to have complete outermost shell, same like the noble gases. So to have same electronic configuration like the noble gases, the atoms will gain or loses electrons. Potassium atom has one electron in its outermost shell. As I told you, it is present in group number 1, and all the elements, the valence shell electrons tell us about the group number. So group 1 means that potassium has one electron in its outermost shell. It will loses one electron and will form potassium ion. Since chlorine atom is present in group 7 of the periodic table, so it has 7 electrons in its outermost shell, and it needs one more electron to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell. So it will gain one electron and will form chloride ion. For every potassium ion, we need one chloride ion, because potassium will loses one electron, and that one electron will be gained by the chlorine atom to form chloride ion. The electron dot and cross structure for the formation of potassium chloride is, you can see here in this image, potassium has 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 electrons in the second shell, 8 in the third, and 1 electron in the outermost shell. This 1 electron it can easily loses. Then chlorine has 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 in the second, and 7 in the last shell. Potassium will loses that one electron and chlorine will gain that one electron. You can see this dot of the potassium electron gained by the chlorine atom. Now the electronic configuration for the ions are 288 and having a one positive charge, because when an atom loses electron, it will get a positive charge and is called cation. Configuration of chlorine changes from 7 to 8 to 8, 8, and as it gains electron and form anion with a negative charge. Second case is we have to make an ionic compound for calcium and sulfur. Calcium is present in second group of the periodic table, and it has 2 electrons in its outermost shell. Calcium is a metal while sulfur is a non-metal. It is present in group 6A of the periodic table. Calcium has 2 electrons in its valence shell, and it has the ability to lose these 2 electrons and form calcium ion. Whereas sulfur atom has 6 electrons in its valence shell, and it needs 2 electrons to complete its octet. And after gaining these electrons, it will form anion. For every calcium ion, we need one sulfur ion because calcium loses 2 electrons and sulfur has the ability to gain 2 electrons. Electron dot and cross structure for calcium and sulfur. To form calcium sulfide is calcium has 1, 2 electrons in the outermost shell, and sulfur has 2, 2, 4, and 2, 6 electrons in the outermost shell. Calcium will loses those 2 electrons and will form divalent cation. And sulfur will gain those 2 electrons. You can see the 2 dots and will form divalent anion. This is -2. The third case is for aluminium and nitrogen. Aluminium is present in group 3A of the periodic table and it has 3 electrons in its valence shell. It has the ability to lose electron because it is a metal, and nitrogen is a non-metal, so nitrogen has 5 electrons in its outermost shell because it is present in group 5 of the periodic table. It needs 3 electrons to complete its octet and form the nitrogen ion or form the nitride ion. So aluminium will lose its three electrons and will form trivalent cation, and nitrogen will gain 3 electrons and will form trivalent anion. For every aluminium ion, we need one nitrogen ion because if it loses 3 electrons, will gain by the nitrogen. Electron dot and cross structure. Aluminium has 1, 2, and 3 electrons in the outermost shell, which it can easily loses. And the nitrogen has 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons in its outermost shell. Aluminium will loses 3 electrons and will form trivalent cation, while nitrogen will gain those 3 electrons and will form trivalent anion. You can see the 3 dots in the outermost shell of nitrogen, which it gains from the aluminium ion. Question number 13. Recognize the following compounds as having ionic compound. We have to identify, we have to recognize. Magnesium is a metal and chlorine is non-metal. Magnesium atom has 2 electrons in outermost shell. So it loses 2 electrons to form magnesium ion. Since chlorine has 7 electrons in its outermost shell and it will gain 1 electron to complete its outermost shell. So as both the atom after losing and gaining electrons, they acquire the noble gas configuration. For every magnesium ion, we need 2 chloride ions. Chemical formula is MgCl2. Therefore, it is an ionic compound. The easiest way to identify that either the compound is ionic or not, you just see the magnesium and chlorine. Magnesium is metal and chlorine is non-metal. I told you that ionic compounds are formed by the reaction between the magnesium and between the metals and non-metals. Metal and non-metal will combine together, will form an ionic bond, and the compound is called ionic compound. Electron dot and cross structure for magnesium and chlorine chloride ion is we have one magnesium and 2 chloride ions. Magnesium will lose 2 electrons and each chlorine atom will gain 1 electron. Magnesium will form divalent cation while each chlorine atom will form the monovalent anions. Second is potassium bromide. Again, potassium is a metal and bromine is non-metal. Potassium belongs to group 1A and it has 1 electron and it is a metal, while bromine is a non-metal and it is present in group 7A of the periodic table. It is a halogen. Potassium loses 1 electron and chlorine will or bromine will gain that 1 electron and in order to complete its outermost shell. And for every potassium ion, we need 1 bromide ion. So as the bond is between metal and non-metal, so it is an ionic compound. The electron dot and cross structure for potassium bromide is potassium has 1 electron in the outermost shell and it has 2, 8, 8, 1, 1 electron in the outermost shell. Bromine has 2, 8, 18 and 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So potassium loses this electron and will form monovalent cation, and bromine will gain 1 electron and will form monovalent anion. Third case is for sodium iodide. Again, sodium is a metal and iodine is a non-metal. Sodium is present in first group of the periodic table and it has 1 electron in its outermost shell, while iodine is present in group 7 and it has 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So in order to complete its outermost shell, sodium will loses 1 electron and iodine will gain 1 electron. So for every sodium ion, we need only 1 iodine atom. Electron dot in cross structure for sodium iodide is sodium has one electron in the outermost shell, and iodine as in group 7, so it has 7 electrons in the outermost shell. It will lose it, sodium will loses one electron and will form monovalent cation, and iodine will gain that electron and will form monovalent anion. Question number 14. An atom of an element has atomic number 9 and mass number 19. Dear student, maybe the question numbers will different because in old and new books the numbers are different, but the question will be same. So try to see the questions carefully. An atom of an element has atomic number 9 and mass number 19. We have to find out the number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus of this atom, state the number of electrons in this atom, and we have to show electron dot and cross diagram for the formation of ions in this reaction with this atom with sodium atom. So let us see the first answer. State the number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus of that atom. Number of proton, dear students, you know that atomic number is the total number of protons present in the nucleus of an atom is called its atomic number. So as they say that atomic number is 9, it means that the number of protons are also 9. B part is that the number of proton and neutron. We have to find out the number of neutron. This is the same A part, sorry. The number of neutrons, we have a formula, atomic mass minus atomic number. Atomic mass or mass number is 19 and atomic number is 9. So 19 minus 9 will give us answer 10. So 10 neutrons are present in the nucleus of that atom. Number of electrons and atomic number and number of protons are always same. So atomic number and number of electrons are same, which are 9. Since atomic number is 9, so which element is this? If you check the periodic table, you will see that this element is fluorine. Atomic number 9 is of fluorine, which is present in group 7 of the periodic table, and which is the highest electronegative element in the periodic table. We have to draw the electron dot and cross structure for sodium and fluoride because they ask that this element with sodium. So means we had to make electron dot and cross structure of fluorine with sodium. Sodium has one electron because it is present in group 1A. Fluorine has 7 electrons in the outermost shell because it is present in group 7A. Sodium is metal, fluorine is non-metal. Sodium will loses electron and will form monovalent cation. Fluorine will gain electron and will form monovalent anion. You can see fluoride ion and sodium ion. Question number 15, is there a need for more adhesive? Yes, there is a need for more adhesive. The adhesive action of paints and dyes is developed due to hydrogen bonding. Dear students, if you remember, I told you that what are the adhesives are the reagents which we use for binding two substances or two surfaces together. They are glues or they have the function to bind the two surfaces. The last question is, what is the importance of glues and adhesives in our society? Importance of glues and adhesives in our societies are synthetic adhesives such as glues and epoxy resin used in large scale industrial application. Glues are less costly than synthetic adhesive. Glues are extensively used in adhesive for vinyl, plywood, corrugated carton, and laminated board, like for the wooden purposes. To join the wooden parts together, we use the glues, and glue for glasses and metal are also available. Epoxy, I told you that these are the organic compound which have an epoxy group, functional group in their structure. Inshallah, you will learn about the epoxy group in grade 10. Epoxy resins are used where water resistance is required. They have high resistance towards water, acids, and other chemicals. So they form a strong and tough coating, and we mostly use them in paints. They also give flexibility, chemical resistance, and that's why we use them in dams, bridges, thermal power station, and also to coat at some other substances. Modern aircraft, automobile also use these epoxy resins for assembling the different parts of that aircraft or automobiles. They are cheap and also lighter in weight. Think tank. Magnesium oxide is a compound made up of magnesium ion and oxide ion. Question number 1. What is the charge on these ions? How these ions get these charges? Show with electron cross dot diagram the formation of these ions. First one is magnesium ion and oxide ion. Magnesium ion, the charge, first question is what is the charge on these ions? So magnesium has positive 2 charge and oxygen has minus 2 charge. How these ions get these charges? So positive 2 charge means that magnesium get these charges by losing 2 electrons, whereas oxygen get this charge by uh, losing 2 electrons. So magnesium will get positive 2 charge by gaining electron, and oxygen will get minus 2 charge by magnesium will get minus plus 2 charge by losing 2 electrons, and oxygen will get minus 2 charge by gaining 2 electrons. How these ions are formed? Magnesium will form the plus 2 cation or divalent cation by losing 2 electrons. And this is the configuration. It has 2 electrons in the outermost shell. After losing those 2 electrons, it will get the plus 2 charge. Oxygen, how oxide ion is formed. So oxygen is present in group 6. It has 4 plus 2, 6 electrons in the outermost shell. It will gain 2 more electrons and then will have 6 electrons in the outermost shell. And this is the electron dot and cross structure for the oxygen. Oxygen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. I told you this is not the seventh one is mistakenly mentioned here. 2, 2, 4, and 6. After gaining 2 electrons, it will have 8 electrons in the outermost shell and will form divalent anion. The diagram below shows the electronic structure of an atom of calcium and an atom of oxygen. There are structures for the ions that are formed when these atoms react. We have calcium and oxygen. You can see calcium is present in group 2, so it has 2 electrons in the outermost shell, 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 in the second, 8 in the third, and 2 in the last shell. Second, 2 electrons in the case of oxygen in the first shell, 6 in the last shell. So calcium is a metal, it will lose those 2 electrons and will form divalent cation. Oxygen is a non-metal, it will gain those 2 electrons and will form divalent anion. Draw electron dot and cross structure for the following molecule. The first one is carbonyl chloride, which is a poisonous gas and it is also called phosgene. And this gas has been used in World War II as a weapon. And we also have to draw the hypochlorous acid is unstable decomposed to liberate atomic oxygen that makes hypochloric acid a strong oxidizing agent. So you can see for the first case, carbonyl chloride, carbon is in the middle and oxygen at one side and 2 chlorine atoms at the other side. Carbon has 4 electrons in the outermost shell. So you can see that these 4 dots are for the electrons of carbon because it is present in group 4 of the periodic table. So it has 4 electrons in the outermost shell, and you can see carbon will share 2 electrons with oxygen because oxygen has 6 electrons and need 2 more. Each chlorine atom has 7 electrons and need only 1 electron. So carbon will share 1 electron with each chlorine atom and 2 electrons with the oxygen. So it will form double bond, double covalent bond with oxygen atom and single covalent bond with each chlorine atom. These electrons which are present on the oxygen and chlorine are called lone pair electron or non-bonding electron pair because these electron does not participate in bond formation. For the hypochlorous acid, you can see oxygen is in the middle. It has 6 electrons in the outermost shell and need 2 electrons. So it will share 1 electron with hydrogen and 1 electron with the chlorine at the other side. By this way, the electrons in the outermost shell will be completed. Like you can see 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 electrons are in oxygen now and 2 electrons in hydrogen, and you can see 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the chlorine. When you mention these electrons, there is no need to mention this one dot and this dot. Okay, no need because we already mentioned the dot over here in the mid. So these dots are mistakenly over here. Now you can see oxygen is in the middle and hydrogen is at one side and chlorine at the other side. So there must be one more dot here because 2 lone pair electrons are present in oxygen. Okay, one dot is missing. 2 dot up and 2 dots down. You can see in this case 2 dot at one side and 2 dot at another side. and the bond pairs are here. These are the bond pair electrons, and the other which does not participate in bond formation are called lone pair electrons. So 3 lone pair electrons are present on chlorine atom, and 2 electron pairs or lone pair electrons are present on oxygen atom. Question number 4, the table shows the properties of 4 substances. Which substance is a metal? Which substance is an ionic compound? Which substance is a covalent compound? And which substance is a non-metal? The first one, which substance is a metal? So metal have high melting point, and they are good conductor of electricity in solid state as well as in molten state, because you can see solid state and molten state conductivity. So they are good conductor in molten state as well as in solid state, and they have high melting point. So D is the correct option. Which substance is a metal? D. Second one, which substance is an ionic compound? Ionic compound have high melting point, but they are poor conductor of electricity in solid state, but in molten state they are good conductor of electricity. So B is the correct option. The third one is which substance is a covalent compound? Covalent compound has low melting point, and they are poor conductor of the electricity even in solid state and in molten state. The last one is which substance is a non-metal. So non-metals have high melting point, but they are poor conductor of electricity in molten state as well as in solid state. So the A is correct option. Question number 5, electronic configuration of 2 elements X and Y are given below. X is 1 is to 2 is to 2p6, 3 is to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 electrons are totally present. So atomic number 12 is of magnesium. Y has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 total electrons. So it's understood that is oxygen. Oxygen has 8 electrons. In atomic number of oxygen is 8. Which of the following compound is likely to be formed when X and Y react? So magnesium and oxygen when react, so you know that magnesium will loses 2 electrons, and those 2 electrons will gain by the oxygen atom, and then in turn for one magnesium ion we need 1 oxygen ion. So and as magnesium is a metal and oxygen is a non-metal, so definitely the bond is ionic. They ask us a covalent compound or formula X Y2. No, because I told you 1 magnesium need 1 oxygen, and here Y2 means that we need 2 oxygens. So it's wrong. Same, and this is covalent compound. No, metal and non-metal will never give covalent compound. Yeah, they will give ionic compound, but not in XY2. For 1 magnesium, we need 1 oxygen. Yeah, this one is correct. 1 magnesium, 1 oxygen, and ionic compound. And this X2Y means 2 magnesium and 1 oxygen. No. So C is the correct answer. Magnesium with atomic number 12, and Y is oxygen with atomic number 8. Magnesium belongs to group 2. It has 2 electrons in the outermost shell. If it loses these electrons to attain normal gas configuration, and oxygen belongs to 6. It has 6 electrons. It requires 2 electrons. As there is a complete transfer of electron between 2 atoms, so it is an ionic compound. And for 1 magnesium, we need 1 oxygen atom. Question number 6, the following figure show the electron dot and cross diagram of molecule AB. Which of the following elements could be A and B? A is oxygen and B is chlorine, because A has 6 electrons in its outermost shell, and B is chlorine because it has 7 electrons in the outermost shell. 2, 2, 4, 5, 6. 6 crosses are in A. So 6 crosses in A means that it is element of group 6, that is oxygen. And 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 electrons in the outermost shell means it is an element of group like 7, and that is most probably chlorine, because we have to make bond of oxygen and chlorine. Question number 7, what is the total number of shared electrons in a molecule of carbon dioxide? 8 number of electrons are shared in its molecule of carbon dioxide. You can see here carbon is in the middle, and carbon has 4 electrons in the outermost shell. So these crosses are for carbon, 2 cross at one side and 2 crosses at the other side, and 2 oxygen atoms are sharing electron with A. These 2 dots are of the electrons shared by this oxygen atom, and these 2 electrons are the electrons shared by this oxygen atom. Total how many electrons are shared? 4 at one side and 4 at the other side. Total 8 electrons are there, and each will make double bonds. So you can see this pair will make one bond and this pair will make one bond. So double bond at this side and double bond at this side. It means that carbon is making double bond with each oxygen atom, double bond with this oxygen atom and double bond with this oxygen atom. And total they shared 8 electrons. So dear student, this was all about the chapter number 4, exercise and think tank. Alhamdulillah, the syllabus is completed now. And all these 4 chapters, chapter 1 till chapter 4 will be included in your exam. So do well preparation for your final term. Our prayers are always with you. Take care. Allah.